We're rolling in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, who's doing the
You're doing the opening, remember?
Are you kidding me?
okay? Okay, hey, welcome everyone to another episode of the Branding Beardos. Our first
Season two,
recorded,
two, 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 two.
the first recorded episode here for 2021.
Yo.
Yeah, we've been not been around. We've been away for quite a while. That's because, we've been up to quite a few things, right, Kenneth?
Yeah, we've been taking a break, figuring out how to build our own businesses.
Yeah.
And in my case, I started mine last year, and in John's case, he actually started his earlier this year.
Yeah.
So we've been really busy, and John is also doing MBA. So we've been really busy. We took a break, but now we're back because like a whole bunch of clients and friends have been asking us about Branding Beardos season 2. Pleasant surprise, right,
I
John?
didn't know that we had fans.
I didn't know he had fans also. So it's like, hey, I had a client who's a friend. So she said, hey, during my morning walk, I listened to Branding. I listened to your podcast. So when season 2 coming out? So like, wow, pressure. So I had to text you.
I didn't know that our voices are soothing enough for a bloody morning walk now.
I know, right? It's more like a morning painful run that our voices are suited for.
So today we are talking, since we know we are in the middle of a pandemic. It's all about today's episode, right? Is all about our journey as pan. Wait, we came up with this term wait pan. Ah, fuck. Pandepreneurs.
Pandepreneur, pandemicpreneurs, pandemic entrepreneurs.
Pandepreneur. Oh,
Yeah, the
whatever.
pandepreneur is quite a unique breed, right? You can say that like we come around every 100 years, actually, right? Because the last pandemic happened like about 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So we actually do come around about 100 years, and there's a set of people that start their businesses during a pandemic.
Yes.
Yep.
And
So
even back then, right? So many.
yeah, even back then, right? Like every crisis, there's opportunity.
Yeah. So like Kenneth was saying, like he started his business last year, earlier, quite actually before
Late last
June
year,
last year you started, right?
I started talking to people about it, but actually, I really registered it in August.
Hmm.
So what happened was that one day I was working from home lah. Then
You must
I
tell
just
people
finished
what's the name of your company or how people find you, right?
wait. So what happened was that I thought about this business before the pandemic, but I never actually uh started it. I didn't actually started it. I didn't actually start it. So when I came back to Singapore, right? I was in Boston for a while, right? So when I came back to Singapore, I just like jumped into work because there was a lockdown and there was a pandemic, and everything was literally like everything was on fire, and so I was like firefighting, and thank God I had a job to come back to.
Yeah.
I was firefighting, and I just didn't think about starting the business until August, right? When I finished a Zoom call and I had like 10 minutes, like literally 10 minutes. And I remember it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I hop onto this. I have a notebook that I wrote all my ideas in, right? So it was right next to me. I opened the notebook and I just said, okay, I have to start it now.
Yeah, this is my notebook where I keep it next to my bed to scribble ideas. Darth Vader notebook.
Mine is like a foolscap pad. So I went to Google like how to register my company. I got to know this service called awesome.com, OSOME.com. Please go and take a look if you are registering your business. And they do everything for you. So I pay one price.
Bloody awesome.
Yeah, just like fucking fast and bloody awesome. Yeah, literally that's what they call it, right? I pay one price. I had already decided my name. The name of my company is Providence, but like without the without some of the vowels. So it's PRVDCE, so Providence.
Yeah, very
And the
good.
reason why I name it Providence is, well, partially because of the meaning of the word, but also because I first thought of the doing the business when I was in Providence, Rhode Island, in United States. So that's what I called my business.
Not about
Yeah,
leaving Providence, but that you were in
in
Providence.
Providence.
Ah,
And then also, like, a lot of what you do at the end of the day isn't in your control,
yeah,
right? So it's a lot of it is about God's will.
yeah.
And like it or not, there is a small part of it that is providence.
Mm.
Even though a big part of it is like your work, everything that's accumulated, but there's always this small part that is about providence, right? It's about a little
Yeah,
bit of whatever you call it, luck,
right.
God's will, blessing, whatever you call it, right? It is providence
So what's
to
what's
me.
Providence supposed to do? I mean, what is the very
So
premise
what
of it?
Providence does is to make high quality communication accessible to small and medium enterprises. So I think we were talking about this just now, right? Like,
Mm,
why not the bigger companies, right?
correct.
So for me, if I wanted to like help bigger companies, right, I would start a whole thing separately just to
Mm.
do that. But for me, it's really, I have my roots in SMEs, right? I started working in
Same here, yeah.
SME,
Of course, yes.
right? All the businesses I help, SME,
Mm,
startup, medium enterprise. And I'm familiar and understand the business and how it works.
yeah.
So with that in
Also
mind,
the needs of the
yeah,
SME as well.
the needs, the way they think, and what is missing in SME sometimes,
Mm,
right? So it's easy for me to go in an environment, sit down, look around, and spot things, or
mm,
talk to the owners, talk to the CEOs, talk to the directors, and spot things
mm,
and understand. Actually, I think it's a lot of it's empathy,
yeah,
understanding where their pain points are.
yeah. Yeah, because a lot of times, right?
Sometimes,
I mean,
yeah.
I've experienced it myself where you get something in, and then someone tries to shove their dicks in your
Mm,
throat, right? Shove a
something like
whole
that, right?
something that you
Force
don't
something
need.
down your throat,
Yeah,
or tell you things or do things that you don't know how. Like, tell people, promise people things, but actually you don't know how to do it,
yeah,
but you're forced to do it.
yeah.
So the clients are promised something that so that's actually one of the things that I also experienced in my life, and I specifically decided not to engage in this, where
Mm,
I have told people. And I think this is one of the interesting things that I learned in the past 6 months is it's okay, like, to push the money away,
yeah,
because the first instinct you have is, oh, there's like $5,000 on the table, I'm taking it.
right.
But it's okay to, like, take a step back
Mm,
and tell yourself and ask yourself whether you can do it or not. And if you can't do it,
mm.
just say no.
Yeah, exactly. So
And
that's I think that's
another
so important.
opportunity
Yeah,
will come.
correct.
Another opportunity will come that fits you better.
Yeah,
Then you get to take that, because that allows you to, like, do your best, right? But if you just take whatever's on the table now,
right.
you are not going to be able to do your best. So what happens is that the opportunities become narrower and
Yeah,
narrower,
correct.
and you are not going to get recommended. People are not going
Oh,
to
for
say good
sure.
things about you.
I think just today, right? Today, I just turned away potential client. I just said,
Mm,
nope, totally
yeah,
cannot. Can you
can't do
do
it.
this? Nope, not for
Mm,
this amount of money. That's number one. You know,
mm-hmm.
scope of work. I said that's. I think you need more of a digital company. You don't need us. You really don't need
Yeah,
us, right? You should go there instead because we're not able to deliver what you want. It's it's not that we can't go in on a strategic point, but he wanted things that was too much that a specialist digital company might do. Then go
yeah.
ahead, go there.
Then go
I'm
ahead,
not going to
do that.
promise you the world just because I'm not hard up for this 30, 40,000 or whatever the project amount is, you
Yeah,
know. But if I do a shit job for you, it's
yeah.
pretty
You're
obvious.
going to tell people.
Yeah,
You're going to tell other people
right.
that he did a shit job for me, and then that's it. You
Yeah.
you you lose that opportunity.
No, I think that's
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing that you're doing as well because, like I said, this understanding with of SMEs is so important because SMEs function so differently, and many
They
SMEs
function so
across
differently.
industries also behave very differently.
They move real fast. They pivot real fast. They make personnel decisions very quickly.
Yeah,
You know,
correct.
today someone's here, tomorrow that person's gone.
Yeah,
Just like that. What happened? Don't know.
yeah,
And you that person was your key point of contact, and now you have to like completely change everything.
yeah, correct. And it's also for you what you're doing. I mean, the very nature of what you're doing, it's not only about prepping them for the digital side of things as well, but
Yeah.
essence giving them enough tools so that they can look after themselves at the same time.
Yeah,
More
because
focus.
sometimes you're like, you want, at the end of the day, what I really want, and I know it sounds really odd. What I really want is for them to not need me
Mm.
one
Yes,
day,
yeah.
right? Then I
If
can
they
move on
don't
to
need
like the
you,
next
you have done
challenge.
an excellent job. That's the
All
whole
right.
point.
Then I
Yeah,
can move on to the next challenge already. The
exactly this.
the interesting thing is that a lot of people will say they don't need you, they don't want. Then after that, after they engage you and they stick with you already,
Mm.
then it's different. Hey, don't go.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you actually you actually
Yeah,
do wanna try new things, you
correct.
know?
And I think that's
Yeah.
that's important, because I think the world is a big one, and that's the thing that we have to understand about business now in our as pandepreneurs, fucking word.
Yeah,
But anyway,
pandepreneurs.
pandepreneurs, right? That the world is a fucking big place, right? You cannot just focus on this one tiny little market here. And as such, if you are able to leave that company to survive on its own doing this thing, for example, you don't have to be doing a lot of things, but if you can make the company self-sustain
Self-sustaining.
in that way, right, means you have done a fucking good job, then
Yeah,
you have many
yeah.
other countries. How many billions of companies there are out there in various sizes? So
So
why?
I think one measure, I think one good measure that like a digital agency like mine in this day and age should have is how many companies have they ended on the agency end,
Hmm,
ended the relationship amicably.
hmm,
Like, you're good to go, you don't need me anymore.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be like a super long-term KPI for me, where like
I think that's
how many companies have I been able to just let them run on their
right,
own?
right.
And
Because
I think one day I'll be able to do that, you know?
I think that's fantastic. I think that's the way that businesses should be, because the I think the business on its own already. I mean, a lot of resources will be required for other things. We don't need to be, sucking dry another business, another
Yeah,
business for something we know we can perfectly leave in their hands to do.
yeah. Because because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not,
Mm,
uh businesses need to grow and evolve.
yeah.
And if they keep sticking with you,
Mm,
and you need to move on also, and you can't, that means you're always going to be stuck at one level.
yeah. Exactly.
Mm. Because
Exactly.
right now, for someone whose business is like maybe 6, 7, 8 months old, like what I'm trying to do is do a range of industries,
Mm,
right? I started in the food game
mm,
long time ago, but I think what has really helped me or given me more confidence is to be able to go wide now. So, F&B, real estate,
mm,
aesthetic clinics,
mm.
and now like medical, an entire
Yeah, with
medical group
the same methodology will apply
with the
across the
same
board. Yeah.
methodology, the same skill set, but just applying it in different ways. It, I feel like I used to think, okay, I can only do one thing.
Mm,
I can only do this.
yeah.
I cannot do other things. But now I'm realizing that I can do way more than just that one thing.
Mm,
I can apply what I've learned
right.
and to other things, other industries, and come out winning. And I think that one is, to me, it's like, okay, whatever you think is your limit, right?
Mm,
It's not your limit.
Mm.
Whatever you think is your range, right, is not your range. You can go one octave higher, you can go one octave
Right.
lower,
You know
right?
what's the other part as well, right? That you started this in the midst of the pandemic. You know, people always say, yeah, if you want to start a business now, you just open a makan shop lah. I said, well, isn't that all the ones that are dying right now?
Yeah, yeah.
But you see, so what kind of for you, right? In the midst of this, you're basically in the throes of passion of the pandemic, or whatever you want to call it, right? Like, we're all getting fucked by the pandemic anyway, so that's what
Okay.
I'm saying.
Okay.
So for you, right? What was the? I mean, of course, there's challenges, but
Uh,
how has actually the pandemic played into your advantage?
oh, that was easy. Digitalization.
There we go.
Like I have to like I don't usually do this, but I have to thank the Singapore government for giving me the opportunity to stretch my wings here, okay? Because you think about it, right? Before the pandemic, you tell people, hey, do social media, leh.
Mm,
Hey, do e-commerce, leh.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
let's do like digital only communication, eh?
yeah.
Who want to do?
Correct.
Nobody, right?
Yeah, that's why
Now,
all those ads are coming out on YouTube, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
now every mother, son, daughter, I want to start social Instagram account.
Yeah.
I want to I want to start a Facebook
Correct.
account. Then
Correct.
you ask them, hey, why you want to do it? Don't know. Everyone is doing. Everyone is doing.
I don't
I
have
want to
one
do also.
Instagram.
I want to do Facebook page. Why? I want to open my own Facebook business page. Why? Government say must do. Bro, 3 years ago, where were you?
Yeah, exactly,
5 years,
exactly.
5 years ago, where were you? No, 7 years ago, where were you? Why? Because it's new.
Mm,
So it's new. Uh, uh, Other businesses have gone on to it, but it's new. Like I don't think I need it. It's like some digital gimmick. That's why it's so important. Every platform you see that you can use, you think you can use to get on it, and like it's important as a business owner.
mm,
This is really important to explore it first.
mm.
Like don't just panic. Don't ask your friend. Don't ask
Don't,
your friend. Don't
don't go
say,
on fucking TikTok if you have no fucking reason to get on it. I
no,
always
for
imagine
me.
a money lending company or something getting on TikTok and doing.
Hey, you see, the thing is this, right? Everyone has a unique perspective of like what they can or cannot do.
Yeah,
But the worst thing to do is to go and ask your friend.
correct.
Don't ask your friend. They'll be like, if you are a money lending service and you want to do TikTok and you think you can do a TikTok, go and do it. Give
Lend
it a shot.
me
Don't ask your friend.
money.
Don't ask your friend. Because if you ask your friend and your friend say, don't lay, like cannot lay, or
Yeah,
doesn't, right, then you kill the idea yourself.
yeah.
Right, give
Well,
it a shot.
there
Yeah.
are a lot of idiots out there with an opinion. Most of
Yeah.
them are your friends.
Yeah. So what has played out well for me is everyone wants to digitalize.
Yeah.
Then now it's like how?
Everyone's holding the
And
fishing rod but don't know how to cast the line.
yeah, no bait or don't know what bait to use.
Yes.
But like I grew up, I grew up in Dalap.
Mm.
I'm a digital native. Like this is my playground, this is my world. So I should be able to. And actually, I think initially there was a bit of apprehension. Like,
Mm.
am I really? Do
Pretty.
I really? Because like I'm like this just one guy. I'm just this guy, right? Like,
Yeah.
am I really? Do I really want to go and tell people what to do with their business?
Mm.
Can I do it? Then I realized that, actually, if you know, you should just share. Whether they take it up or not is another story.
Yeah.
But when they do take it up and they do put the money behind it and they do invest in it and it's working, then you just have to trust that you're on the right track.
Mm.
Yeah. Like don't hesitate.
Right.
Which actually another thing that I learned, which is like just don't doubt yourself, don't hesitate. You only doubt yourself when you see the results screw up.
No, it's
Then
not
you know
only
you
that,
you
but
did it wrongly already lah.
the doubt would already be cast also by people around you. That's why sometimes you shouldn't listen too much.
Yeah, it's true. Because if I listen, I wouldn't have started this.
Yeah.
Like, why you have a stable job? Why you want to go and do this? For what? So John, you leh? What? Okay. I actually am very interested to know, right? What happened, right? That made you decide to do something of your own.
You know, the team I mean, now I'm still currently in my role, right? Still leading a team, but this thing that I'm starting is looking at this industry from different, very, very different perspectives.
Mm,
Because as you know, I'm in the branding industry, and I think branding has taken a very, very different form in a modern context. To Singapore is still a bit backward in that sense that people call me up and still ask about a fucking logo, and I said no, please call someone else. You can
can
go
you
to
design me a
Fiverr,
logo?
you can find it easily, and then or I give them a price, and they say, "Wow, so expensive for a logo." I said, I almost want to say, "Fuck you! I don't just do logos here, right? Branding is
Mm,
much bigger." And I think, like we mentioned in our one of our very, very early episodes, right? The problem with branding is that it's poorly branded, very poorly branded, because it's taken on
yeah.
so many facets of it, and I really wanted to bring this thing that's different. I realized that that as the world becomes obviously more connected because of digitalization, blah 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 blah, whatever it is, but
Mm,
we are increasingly
mm,
because of geopolitical situations or whatever things like that, we are becoming increasingly insular and very self-centered in that sense, whether as individuals or businesses, and we no longer it's such a micro environment now. We fail to consider the macro aspects of it.
mm,
And in order for this world to survive through this pandemic or survive any moment of history, humans are humans, and there should always be collaboration and consideration for the greater good. I know it sounds very idealistic, but
mm,
I've seen enough companies, work in such a way that make me believe that such a thing is possible. This ideal can be achieved.
mm.
You know, and if people ask me, in essence, what is it all about? I say, look, my company is all about telling you not to be a fucking asshole, right? To be less of an asshole in this world and be a nicer, kinder fucking
Like,
individual.
basically, yeah, don't turn your business into an asshole business.
Yeah, don't be
You
don't
are
don't
there to
don't
tell
take
people that.
advantage of people. And we're talking about people, not just your internal stakeholders, but your external stakeholders,
Your
meaning that
customers,
don't
yeah.
be in any place where you can take from someone who already doesn't have much.
Mm. Don't
Exploitation.
exploit.
Yeah, so it's a
Yeah.
lot of different factors. Um, so while thinking of the name, because I actually conceptualized this idea like 4 fucking years ago, right? At first, the first iteration of it came out as a garden, because I thought, I said, oh, everyone was like, garden? You? Do you garden at all? I said, no, that's not the point. But it's because of the harmony in the garden. You need so many elements in order for you to call it a garden.
Mm.
Unless you have a Japanese rock garden, then that's something else.
Correct.
But
Then
even then,
different.
also there are different elements to it.
Got different rocks.
Yeah, different rocks,
Yeah.
right? Then I was still in that mode. There was still a lot of chopping and changing, and I think also because my experiences were not that rich yet
Mm.
4 5 years back. And then fast forward those moments, right? Then I finally settled on, because I'm part of this movement, and it's inspired by this movement that I'm part of as well. And I settled eventually on the colors of the rainbow, because each color means something so different. And if one element of it is missing, it's not a rainbow anymore,
Yeah.
right? It isn't. So using this, I called this my methodology, right? The 7 colors. So the company name itself, let me just go back to the company name for a bit. I wanted to call it something, well, some fancy European name or whatever. Then I was thinking, hey, what the fuck? Here we are, the Branding Beardos, always talking about Asian perspectives. And then I'm trying to think
I
of,
know.
something
Yeah,
like
you trying
this.
to think of some Amor name, right?
Yeah, always like that, right? Some fancy Amor name or Italian name or French name.
The temptation to go white is always
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not being racist or anything, but people are there because they think that, oh, it sounds fancy or not, but it's not. So
Yeah.
my company is actually called Tujo. Seven in Malay. It's not spelled exactly like the word in Malay, but it's pronounced Tujo.
Tujo.
Yeah, seven. Because it
Yeah.
represents the company name represents the entire methodology.
Okay, that's quite cool. That's
Yeah.
quite cool. Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
Tujo is Toojoh. That's how you spell it, Tujo.
Mm.
So it's just that, and I wanted to honor this part of the world. I'm not Malay in any way, shape, or form, but I wanted to honor this part of the world that we come from, and the fact that, of course, Singapore's
Yeah.
first language technically is supposed to be Malay.
Correct.
So I wanted to honor this, where the ideas for this was born.
Yeah, I
So
100% like that. Like the name actually. Like before you explained it, I didn't understand it. But now that you explain it, it makes complete
yeah,
sense. And like the play on numbers and the play on the language is so simple but so effective.
yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So now that we know like what like why you do it, right? Like how you came about. What is actually your objective here? Like why why is this happening? Why are you why are you even trying this?
I think in every in every man's life, you arrive at a point.
Like give you a shot.
Give it a shot.
Like you gotta shoot your
No,
shot.
I think I'm at that point of time, right, where I think I've gathered, you know, the abundance of the experience, in this last how many years of being in this industry. Yeah?
Mm,
And I felt that we this is still, doing a business in this kind of a way and having these kind of thoughts, right, based on the methodology, it's still somehow it's more palatable or more acceptable in the West, unfortunately. Not saying that our own people here in Asia are assholes, right? But we are driven by very different things, and I think the time has come where we really have to rethink how business is done, the understanding of what affects the business. You cannot operate as a business now without having a care or concern about the community you're part of, for example,
yeah,
right? And you
yeah.
also cannot force yourself to be in something that you don't want to do, because people will see it and they'll call you out. This generation of people, they were like, oh, this brand is
And in a lot of ways, I think we are more vulnerable to that, right? Because it, it's always been a more silent kind of a thing here, but in the past 3 years, things have changed.
yeah.
Things People are a lot more vocal now, and they don't care, and it's not age like specific.
Hmm.
Like people who are older, who used to be more silent, are now more vocal.
Yes,
People who are younger grew up being vocal. They're
correct.
just yeah. If you screw with their environment, they're gonna call you out.
They'll call you out.
If you hurt them in any way, they're gonna call you out. You do
Treat your
something that they
people
don't like,
unfairly.
you treat people
Treat
unfairly,
your
they're gonna
people
call you out.
unfairly. You're gonna get called out.
Yeah, and it's rampant, it's direct,
Yep.
and it's not. They're not afraid. They're
Yep.
not afraid to do it, because the rules have changed.
Yes.
Politically, the rules have changed,
Right.
and so economically in business, the rules have changed too.
Yes.
The the big boys, whether you are whether you're government, whether you are a lawyer, whether you're a landlord, doesn't matter anymore. People are gonna come after you.
Exactly. And there's so many platforms. Maybe you all can go through Providence to launch the next attack on an unruly company, right? So yeah, that's precisely. But the good thing is, I mean, the heartening part is that there are some organizations that are stepping up and really being a part,
Yeah.
of this community. But I think the very premise of what Tujo is all about as well is this element of collaboration,
Mm.
because you cannot take the whole pie by yourself. It is impossible. Because when you try to do something like that, of course, overheads go up, blah, 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 so on and so forth, right? But that's besides the point. There's no way that all expertise in the entire fucking world can be concentrated in your one
In
fucking
one
building
person or one
and one person or
organization.
one organization. Fucking possible.
Correct. Correct.
So the idea as well, you know, to to collaborate. Part of the part of Tujo, we have someone who is in the UK, someone who is in Italy. We have partners in Spain. So it stretches wide. And the idea being, we live in a very global world, so you need very, very global perspectives behind everything. You cannot
Yep.
just think that, Singapore as our tiny island is the center of the fucking world. It doesn't happen nowadays, and we really have to keep our minds very open
Yeah,
towards
it's
that.
interesting though that a lot of Singaporeans think that Singapore is the center of the fucking world. Everything,
Yeah,
right? COVID-19 pandemic has shown, right? Everything, they just keep talking about Singapore.
yeah,
And they don't realize that even if you vaccinate the whole island, the moment you open the country back as a travel hub,
mm,
you're gonna have a second wave.
yeah,
It's not what you do, it's
yeah.
what the rest of the world does. You just
Correct.
like you depend on the rest of the world,
Exactly that. Exactly
you
that.
know?
That's why it's so important for us to learn. Even like the whole point about sustainability. Sustainability can take so many fucking forms. You
And
can
you
start with
can't achieve it if
sustainability.
you're insular.
You can't. Yeah, exactly. It
Yeah.
can be something as big on a macro level like that, or even as small as how you alter the way you package your items. If let's say your bakery, for example, right? How you package your items, what do you use to package, all these little things, all these very very tiny details are what are people going to take notice of, and that could be the difference between your brand shining, your company shining, or it
All
fucking up.
falling apart.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why for my approach to this is really cast the net, look at it from a very very
Macro. Yeah.
wide angle
Macro.
lens, right? And figure out, because like we have might have 7 steps, right, going to something, but
Mm-hmm.
you might not need all 7. You could already have 3 or 4. So our
Mm.
point here is either to enhance or fill up what you don't have. But the whole point is that every company should have these 7 elements as part of their makeup, part of their what drives them.
So what are the 7 elements?
So the 7 colors, the colors, right?
We talk about 7 elements, then we never say.
So it's all about the colors of the rainbow. So
Right.
we have the red. That red is about the economy, and it really talks about business, right? Define the interconnectedness of resources, how whether
Your
it's
nuts and bolts lah.
nuts and bolts, your
Right.
time. It could be a lot of different things. Very, very big. That's why initially I put it as finance, but
Mm.
I changed it to economy because it's supposed to be much wider than that. Then I have the orange, which is about community and telling companies how they can get involved with the community in causes that's much more related to what their DNA is about.
Okay.
Because relevance means you will have a sustained effort at it because it makes sense to you, right?
Correct.
Then there's yellow. So yellow is the philosophy, which is your brand. That means your element. How do we arrive at your philosophy to drive things? So this part here is a little bit, not, I wouldn't say hocus pocus mumbo jumbo, but it's the philosophy of your brand, which I think is quite important. Then the green, obviously, that is to represent sustainability. And again, it's the consideration of up to the smallest detail of a company, like the packaging that you use, for example.
Mm. Mm.
It's important. Then we have the blue, and the blue talks about culture. It talks about culture in a different way, not just saying, "Oh yeah, I'm working at a very nice place." No, but it's really
Mm.
about the conversations you have with people internally. This is really an internal thing, internal stakeholder thing, and communication internally, right? And then we have the violet, which is communication on the outside. So the violet is all about promoting your brand. And this is really where the branding part comes in, right? It's a little bit more marketing focus and things like that. So that's communication. And then we have the indigo, which is all about learning, because your team needs to improve. In order for your team to last the pace, your team needs to be trained, and you can't just be trained 1 2 3 things. You have to be able to to foresee what it needs. So the idea is for us, for the as far as the indigo is concerned, we work with different partners offering a variety of courses, whether it's finance, whether it could be getting Providence to offer marketing and
Social
digital marketing
media.
courses
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
things like that. But it's really about not saying that what we as one organization can do every fuck job thing. No, it's not like that. But really, how do we
That's
get
true.
other companies
That's true.
involved as part
How
of
do you
the same
do? Yeah, how do you
ecosystem, right?
do?
Yeah,
Correct.
it's just that. Yeah.
I think I've heard of the seven colors before. Like we've talked about the seven colors before, and now you're like, it's interesting, like to see the genesis of it, and now you're turning it into a legit like business.
Yeah.
It's just like quite cool to see it happen.
Yeah, it took time. I think with things like that where there's a heavy philosophy behind it, you really want to get it
You
right.
kind of like have to like make sure you build it
No,
right.
I have to admit, I had that fear also, right? That fear of like, is it going to be acceptable by people? Because it underwent so many bits, right? So many transformations, and the fear will always be there. But then finally, it just arrived at this point where I said, "No, fuck it. This is what it's going to be already."
Yeah, I think there has to be this point in the journey
Yeah,
where you just decide, fuck it, like I have enough. I've thought through it enough. Then you just like it tilts the whole thing and you just go.
correct.
It makes you just decide you're going to go.
And I think the
And
same thing for you, right? I mean, you
yeah,
arrive at that point. I think where you just it's just that moment. You never know. No one can tell you when you're ready for something. You will just arrive at that point, and
you,
you would just say, "Yeah,
you just
the
like,
moment is now."
because for me it was like I'm going in circles. Like I felt like I was going in circles. I felt like, yeah, I get to a point where I I have optimized something and I go back and then I think, oh, have I optimized it enough? Then go back, optimize it again. Then keep going in a circle. And then you realize that it's just a giant loop for you to avoid the responsibility of taking the action to start the business.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you just like, maybe one more day, let me just like make it a little bit better.
Mm.
The fact is, yeah, I think that's the excuse. That's just an excuse. It's never gonna be better, it's never gonna be the best. You just have to do it and adjust along the way.
And have that courage to be a pandepreneur.
Yeah, have the courage to be a pandepreneur. You just want to
Pandepreneur.
use the word lah, you. But I like the point about collaboration that you mentioned, because for me, I I am learning to collaborate in very, I don't know how to say it. Is it micro ways, or like basically going back in time and tapping every person that I thought had the thought of, this guy is good,
Mm.
or this person is like fucking brilliant, and just like tapping those people and working with them.
Mm.
So a really good example is one of my main collaborators is uh, Jack. I think you worked with Jack before. She was the one that worked on
Mm.
My Village,
Yep.
right? She came up with the branding and all that for My Village, and I'm like hardcore like working with Jack on like multiple projects, because she's amazing and brilliant in doing design and brand architecture. And then it so happens that Jack is working with Pam, who
Mm.
moved to New Zealand. And I think when we were working together, John,
Yeah.
Pam was in the office, if you remember. This very nice lady who just happens to be exceptionally organized, and she's the project manager, and she literally organizes our lives like
Oh, that's perfect.
so well.
Yeah, you
And
always.
like, yeah, it's just everything. And before this, right, for the first few months, right, I was just going in circles.
Mm.
I was just trying to figure out who to call,
Yeah.
who to talk to, until I realized that my history, I have enough history, I have enough past, and I've met enough people to go back and ask people to collaborate.
Yeah.
And then I just like so happen, I'm sure you know Roy.
Mm. Yep.
I just so happen to just be able to rope Roy into a project.
There we go.
So everything is like kind of like falling into place
Mm.
in a way I never expected to fall into place. But these are like, it's literally kind of like assembling the Avengers.
Yeah.
you know. It's like fucking mind blowing, you know,
It's
when you
true.
like end up
Yeah.
like, yeah, you know, you're like, oh my god, I can do
When you
this. Oh
arrive
my
at,
god, we can.
every point when you know that you've got that sauce right, that you'll be like,
Yeah,
whoa, you know.
like woo, woo, you know, like you just want to keep
Yeah.
going.
For
So
me, it was really like the sauce is really getting the methodology straight. That was the thing
yeah,
I always had a problem with.
like getting it locked in
Yeah.
and sharing it with people
Yeah.
is always exciting
And
the
I
first
and I
time.
finalized the part. I remember when I was just lying down and I was just like listening to some classical music, and then it just came. And in fact, it was a thought that was triggered by something someone said, and I was like, wow, this is it. This is precisely what I need to do. It's exactly this now. So that I'm those once
Yeah,
the tweaks
yeah,
were done very fast to for it to come to this final point. From the moment where the name was finalized to the methodology finalized, was everything was a process that was like started 4 years ago, came together in the last couple of weeks and 1 month
yeah.
or less.
It just like
Came
it just
together.
it
Yeah.
the compression of that
Yep.
time is amazing.
Absolutely.
And like my question, I also have one question is like which which is the most unenjoyable part of this whole thing, this whole process?
I think uncertainty will always be part of everyone's fear, the uncertainty of things.
Okay.
And I think the most difficult part is that you have to realize that at this point of time, when you're starting something out, you will have to depend on yourself a lot. I think
Mm,
with any business, right? And you got to put
mm.
up the late nights. You'll be, yeah, your mind will just be totally consumed by what you're doing. But because the passion is there, right? And I think that's the challenge is if you're not prepared to put in
The work,
the
the
work. I
work.
mean, with anything, whether we're in a pandemic time, not in pandemic time, people will tell you the same thing, right? And yeah, that challenge is always there. And of course, the challenge is always second guessing yourself at the same time, because right now there's a lot of great ideas and great initiatives and great startups that are springing up very very quickly across the world. And you might come to that point where you, oh yo, so many people do already, that I don't do anymore. There are people who are like that, no? Because I've encountered them. And I said, fuck you lah, just start the thing. No lah, that day I saw this thing, they already came up, then don't know become
Yeah,
a unicorn
they
and fucking
already
fairy or
did
whatever
it.
already. I said,
Yeah.
fuck you lah, just start lah. Not every company can be a unicorn or whatever, right? Just start and do something. You never know what's gonna happen. But if you don't gonna give it a
Actually,
shot, right?
I really hate this whole like every company that we start has to like aim to be a unicorn, otherwise it's not worth it. I'm like,
Stupid,
what about like paying your mortgage?
yeah.
Not worth it, man. Or like, I don't know.
Yeah. So, so the
Having a
thing is,
nice
right?
dinner, not worth it, man.
You have to accept that not every business will work. How many hundreds and thousands and millions of businesses have closed all over
Yeah.
the world? You're
Yeah.
never going to have any guarantees on that. But I think the noble part of business, and this is something that people cannot forget, because it lost as a business. When you start, you get this collaborative efforts in. You open your company to employment and things. You are handing another opportunity to someone. Again, as idealistic as it sounds, and especially coming from my mouth, doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to people sometimes. But it's
You're
really
you're
about that.
building, yeah, you're contributing to the economy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Really. But I say it's
Moving
much
money.
more of the opportunity. Like I remember a small project that we did, that I did before, and it required translation, but not a high level translation where I needed someone. And I told the client, look, you can choose to do this translation. It's not going to be a professional translation, but it'll be a conversational translation where people will understand.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically done by a lady in Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, I think, or Cambodia, and they come from some small village and they help to do some of the translation work. Of course, to
Mm.
make sure that they are properly paid for their work as well, not just
Yeah.
$20
You
and then thank
you're
you.
you're moving
Yeah. So I
like
think
money in the
yeah,
economy and spreading it. You're not hoarding it.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
important because that's why I think businesses have to do much more to find these ways to collaborate in this manner. Then we really see an economy that's much more inclusive.
Yeah, yes, yes, because right now the
Uh,
all the unicorn that we're talking about is it's a different situation altogether.
yeah, correct.
They in a sense, what they're trying to do is to hoard enough capital to get beyond a certain
Yeah,
size,
yeah,
then they can like list. And when they list, they are also going to hoard more capital.
right.
So
And I think this whole thing, right, is really about this communion of ideas, communion of goods in that sense, right? And this
mm,
communion can come in many forms. It can be
mm,
you as a business owner or an executive or whatever, giving some of your time to, let's say, at its very basic, helping your own colleague. That's one thing. But to give your time also to advise and help another business as well, because it only helps the economy if more businesses stay alive. It
yeah,
doesn't help the economy if you see, well, people for nothing or auto already die. You know,
yeah,
you are the
I
only
think
player in the market. Then we have a problem.
yeah, I think it doesn't help an economy, especially a capitalist economy,
Yeah,
if you have just three players or two
right.
players in one industry.
Where will the innovation come from?
There's like, isn't that what was causing Singtel and M1 and StarHub to not progress,
Yeah,
right? And
y-
then after that, when you have like inject one or two new players, then they realize, oh shit,
yeah, bugging up.
we have
Yeah,
to
just with the circles right
innovate.
coming in already, they had to wake up
Yeah,
already.
yeah, and then there are other competitors coming in,
Yeah,
and at the end, that is competition, and the end user benefits because we are getting better plans, we're getting more data,
yeah,
and now they realize that they have to reinvest their
correct.
profits to build 5G towers to
Yeah,
grow, to grow that way.
agree.
They had to figure that out by process of competition, right? And my belief is that it's also part of like the human spirit to compete,
Mm,
right? And if we are competing just to like dominate, like to become a grab,
yeah,
basically, then what we are doing is we're losing the essence or the idea of a long-term life, a
yeah,
long-term plan,
correct.
because you got to be competing at every stage of your life. Right till you die, you're still competing.
Yeah, that's why
That's
people.
who you're competing against.
Yeah, and that's what
Yeah,
competition does. Helps improve lives because
it improves
innovations
you.
come. You keeps the competitive, keeps the
Correct.
big boys on their toes.
Correct.
Why give them a free pass? I think once in a while we need to kick them in the
Yeah.
bollocks and
Yeah,
then
we gotta hurt them a little bit once in a while, you know? Like I like to do that. I like to like find a chink in the armor,
yeah,
stab them right there, make them feel the pain.
yeah,
Right?
correct.
And then when they react,
I'm not so violent. I'll kick them in the balls.
they copy you. That's when you know it's time to like find another hole in the armor, poke them again.
So that's why I think what where we're really coming from this episode is really, it might be a pandemic time, but really just have
Yeah.
that courage.
Yeah, and I think also to not, what's the worst that can happen,
Yeah.
to like ask yourself that question, not that like, oh, what's the worst that can happen, so fuck it, I'm going to start my own business, but like what what's the worst that can happen,
Mm,
like if you do the calculus of honestly do the calculus of what's the worst that can happen
mm.
realistically, then you will know whether you can do it or not. And I think I know, John, you did it in your way, right? You must have thought, okay, if I start this, what's the worst that can happen?
Mm.
You know, and I did the same. I did the same math too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that at this age, at this time, in this, I mean, everything is in flux.
Mm.
This is the best time to do it. If I don't do it now,
Yeah,
I'll
that
never
boat
do it.
that ship will sail. I
Yeah,
mean,
that ship
and
was
and the
sailed.
thing is, we have to just remember. I mean, it's not tagged down to by age or anything, but it's just that feeling that you will have inside. That
Yeah,
whether you're on that
yeah,
boat, whether you're missing that boat, whatever it is, you will know it. Whether like me turning 37, or you could be 50 or whatever, the boat is different, but you'll know it if you're on it, and you'll know it if you missed it.
Yeah,
I
you
can
know
say.
if you miss
Yeah.
it. So far, you know, it's been an amazing journey. I'm enjoying every bit of it.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to like coming back in another 6 months to talk about this again, you know, and
Yeah,
like
just to see the
at the
progress
one
of
year,
things. Yeah.
yeah, at the 1 year mark, how is it? How
Yeah.
are things? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I think this is one of our deepest deepest episodes of
I like this. I like this a lot.
a lot of
Yeah.
pondering, and definitely, because we are, for us, the Branding Beardos, we're going to be bringing you more pandepreneur stories.
Yeah.
We're going to be
Pandepreneur
reaching out also as well
stories.
to other pandepreneurs out there and see
And
how their
if you
struggles.
are a pandepreneur, if you have like a story, if you have or if you are a business owner who has survived the COVID-19 pandemic, please reach out to us.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe we'll have you on the show to chat.
Yeah, definitely. I think now is the time to really be sharing with others. And yes, Kenneth said, reach out to us. Until the next episode, we are the Branding Beardos. This is Big John, and that's
Kenneth Lee.
Kenneth.
And we'll see
Finally, we
you
got it right.
next week.
Next time.
Next time. We'll see you next time. Might be next week. I don't know.
Yeah, could be.
We'll see.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.